Hey folks, this is Kalani. The Shadowlands beta is closing in on its final phase of testing by the looks of things. Another character wipe is on the way to ensure that any and all testing from this point onwards is done with up-to-date characters, or at least character templates. Blizzard has also finally given us some solid information on how the Conduit system is going to actually work, specifically relating to upgrades. It hasn't been available to test properly on the beta, so there were a lot of blank spaces that needed to be filled in, and quite a few players were getting confused due to the updated vendor down in the Maw. So I wanted to have a chat about how conduits work now that we have a blue post we can directly reference, and talk about what another character wipe means for the beta testing environment. Now before we jump in, be sure to pop by our live stream sometime over at twitch.tv/KalaniTV. We stream every Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday and Saturday at 12 PM PST, and we always love chatting with you wonderful folks, so I hope to see you soon. Okay, so conduits. Just to cover all of our bases, so hopefully there are no leftover questions, let's talk about what conduits are and where they fit into the huge Covenant system. When you join your Covenant, whichever one you choose, you'll be able to unlock 3 different soulbinds. You start with 1, and as you work your way through the Covenant campaign, you can unlock the 2nd, and then at the end of your campaign, you unlock the 3rd. That gives you 3 soulbinds total to work with. If you visit a soul forge, you can view and change your soulbind. Each soulbind has different perks, which are kind of like talents. Honestly, soulbinds are pretty much just another talent tree for you to work your way through, but in each tree you will find open slots. This is where your conduits go. There are potency slots for potency conduits, endurance slots for endurance conduits, and finesse slots for finesse conduits. To put it simply, we have DPS conduits, defensive conduits, and utility conduits. I guess they just wanted to call them something different for a change. You can put a conduit in every slot in each soulbind if you wish, but you will only be able to pick 1 talent or trait from each row. So you can have a path that works from the top points down to the bottom points, and you can pick different conduit slots along the way. Changing your soulbind path is as easy as selecting a different trait or talent. There's no cooldown or lockout for changing that specific section of this system. There is a cooldown on swapping your conduits around, however. This is the main pain point that has a lot of players on the beta really frustrated, and that they just don't like about conduits in general, and I have to agree. To change any of your conduits in a soulbind, you have to reset your conduits. That will allow you to place them again in any order you wish, but as soon as you hit that lock in conduits button, that's it, until you can reset them again. Currently, there is a 1-week cooldown on resetting your conduits. You can reset each soulbind individually, and you can set up each soulbind with different conduits, or really whatever you want, but for each soulbind there is a 1-week cooldown on changing conduits. I really don't like this restriction. It doesn't make too much sense to me. It prevents experimentation, which in my mind prevents fun. It pigeonholes you into playing one spec with that soulbind, and it seems to be restrictive for the sake of being restrictive, rather than for any meaningful gameplay purpose. I do understand the dev team not wanting us to go back to the soul forge between every single boss to change our conduits for every single different fight, but a week cooldown seems excessive in my opinion. But that's how it's working right now. So that's where conduits fit in with soulbinds. Let's talk about how you get them next. Conduits are like essences in BFA. They come from every type of content. The blue post specifically mentions dungeon bosses, raid bosses, the PvP vendor, world quests, and world content. They all have specific sources, and sometimes more than one source, so if you want a potency conduit that increases your damage of a certain spell, you should know exactly where to look for it. Let's say it's on a dungeon boss. You go kill that boss and you have a chance to get that conduit. Conduits are also counted as extra loot, by the way, and they're entirely personal and cannot be traded. So getting a conduit will not replace getting a piece of gear. It will be in addition to any other loot that would have been present. So that's kind of cool. When you've looted a conduit, take it back to your soul forge and use it. That will unlock the conduit in your collection, and you can use it as many times as you want from that point forward. Again, it's exactly like essences in BFA. The big difference, and where a lot of players were getting confused, is how we upgrade conduits. The main reason for this confusion was quite simply, we weren't able to test this part of the system. Conduits that dropped did so at a fixed item level no matter where you got them from or what difficulty the content was set to. So a dungeon conduit was dropping at the same item level in a normal dungeon, heroic dungeon, mythic dungeon, and even mythic plus dungeons. The problem with that is, we already knew that conduits had multiple ranks. This is a system where you have to upgrade your collection, and as you get higher ranks they become more and more powerful. Ranks were supposed to be tied to item level, but no higher item level conduits were dropping, like at all. And then the More vendor popped in with an item that allowed you to upgrade conduits randomly, but this was the only source of upgrading conduits that we'd seen on the beta, so people just kind of ran away with it. I saw multiple posts stating that the only way to upgrade conduits was through this silly random method that required us to grind them all forever, and that obviously isn't the case. This confusion is probably what spurred this blue post to be made in the first place. A little late in my opinion, but now we know our original assumptions were correct. If you do higher difficulty content, you'll get a higher item level conduit, which will give you a higher rank to play with, and that conduit will become more powerful. This system will hopefully be updated with the next beta build so we can actually see how conduits progress through different types of content. I know there have been some sneaky scripts that show us there may only be 5 ranks of each conduit available for this first raid tier, with the other ranks unlocking in future raid tiers, but some parts of that information do not line up with this blue post. So until we actually see it on the beta in its proper, ready for testing form, I would take everything like that with a pinch of salt. They're leaving this one a bit late though, to be fair. We're only 4 weeks away from launch at this point, and we still don't have the entire conduit system on the beta ready to test. So hopefully they have everything lined up to do some focus testing while the pre-patch is underway. For anyone curious though, we have multiple difficulties kind of set in stone for PvE content and item level rewards. If we start at normal dungeons, and we assume that's where the base lowest item level of a conduit can drop, and we work our way up to mythic raid, we have normal dungeons, heroic dungeons, mythic dungeons with looking for raid on about that same level, especially when you look at the item level of the rewards, then normal raiding, heroic raiding, and mythic raiding to finish it off. Mythic plus dungeons are also alongside raiding up until the heroic mark with a plus 15 dungeon rewarding gear that is just a smidge under heroic raiding, so that's where those conduits could come from. And if the weekly box can contain conduits, then that allows dungeons to exactly match mythic raiding in terms of item level rewards. That would give us 6 distinct tiers to reward 6 different ranks of conduits, but I would not be surprised if the ranks were cut off at the heroic raiding level to ensure the vast majority of players had a chance to upgrade their conduits through the normal progression path, as opposed to having to rely on the More vendor, for example. If you take out mythic raiding and the weekly box, that's 5 tiers of difficulty, which would line up quite nicely with the potential 5 rank max that we could see per raid tier of this expansion. This is looking at what types of content drop what item level, not necessarily how difficult the content is. And then I'm sure PvP would reward you with conduit ranks based on your PvP rating, and they could line that up however they wanted. Either way, if you were worried you would have to farm them more all day just to upgrade your conduits, don't worry about it. We should be able to earn higher item level conduits from progression through content in the usual manner, exactly how you would upgrade your actual gear, and the conduits will drop as extra loot. So if you do Mythic plus 15 keystones, or if you do heroic raiding, chances are you will have access to the highest ranks of conduits without having to go out of your way or do anything super special. Hopefully that helps you make a bit better sense of the conduit system as a whole, but especially how we're supposed to be upgrading these things. If you have any leftover questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below, or you can pop by our Discord, which is always an amazing place to ask questions. We have a very helpful community over there, and if you can catch me live on our live stream, links in the description and comment section below, I do my best to answer these kinds of questions on stream as well, no matter how often they come up. And then the other topic I wanted to talk about briefly in this video is the character wipe coming to the beta realms. I don't know if we've had a character wipe this close to release date in a previous beta cycle, but I think this one is actually a really good idea. They're going to reset many of the catch-up systems to better reflect how the game will look at launch or when you first hit level 60, so a lot of the skipping will be removed. Both the leveling realms and the max level realm will all still be available to give us a good mix of testing options, but a lot of old character templates were running into bugs and bogging down the system because of how much the beta environment has changed. So I don't necessarily think this character wipe is anything too special, just Blizzard prepping for the final touches to the expansion and making sure that anyone who is testing is providing accurate feedback that isn't being tainted by the use of an old character copy or template. I'll keep my fingers crossed that everything goes smoothly and we'll be crossing over into the Shadowlands before you know it. I hope this video helped anyone who was confused about conduits or how they work, but what do you think about the conduit ranks being tied to item level? How about the current state of the beta from what you've seen so far? Do you think we are ready for an October 26th release date, or are you a bit worried that it's still maybe a bit too soon? Leave all your thoughts in the comment section below. If you want to explore what's left of the beta, ask us a couple questions, or maybe even help us get ready for Shadowlands, you can find us over at twitch.tv/KalaniTV. We stream every Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday and Saturday at 12 PM PST, and watching the stream and coming to say hi is one of the best ways you can support the channel right now. And if you ever wanted to be included in the long list of names at the end of every video, a subscription on Twitch is the easiest way to make that happen. You get a free sub to any Twitch channel if you have Amazon Prime too, so be sure to take advantage of that. A big thank you to everyone who's subscribed on Twitch already and to our supporters over on Patreon. You can see their names floating by on screen. If you want to join these lovely guys and gals, well, now you know how. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I will see you next time.